One of the key recommendations from the Iraq Study Group calls for a concerted effort to bring about Israeli-Palestinian peace in order to save Iraq. We're joined now by Israeli Vice Premier and former Prime Minister Shimon Peres. Mr. Prime Minister, welcome.
Thank you.
Let me, in reference to the Iraq Study Group's report, read you a portion of their recommendation. There must be a renewed and sustained commitment by the United States to a comprehensive Arab-Israeli peace on all fronts. Lebanon, Syria, and President Bush's June 2002 commitment to a two-state solution for Israel and Palestine. This commitment must include direct talks with, by, and between Israel, Lebanon, Palestinians, those who accept Israel's right to exist, and particularly Syria. Do you agree with that?
I am not against it. I don't think it depends only upon America, and clearly not only upon Israel. The problem is with the Lebanese and with the Palestinians. They are split. They have many governments and no governments. They have many armies and no army, and they don't have an address. So it's a recommendation of goodwill, but it will be very hard to implement, not because of us and clearly not because of the United States.
Mr. Prime Minister, here in this country, we in the media and ordinary citizens, we read about the Israeli-Palestinian conflict. We think about it occasionally. Some of us study it, and yet you live it each and every day. It would seem to some people here in this country, Iran is out of the question in terms of negotiating with Iran right now. Syria, out of the question in terms of negotiating with Syria. Hamas. Who would sit across the table from Israel in any negotiation?
Everybody in Israel is ready to negotiate. We are not split on the issue of having a Palestinian state on the side of the state of Israel. The problem is we tried 4 times to make peace. Twice we succeeded, with Egypt and Jordan, because they have a government, an army, and a policy. Twice we failed with the Palestinians and the Lebanese because they don't have either of the three. Now, I think they are not fighting actually in Iraq, in my judgment. The war today is not against the United States. It's among the Shiites and the Sunnites, like it used to be a year ago, 2 years ago, in Algeria, where you don't have Americans, you don't have Israelis, and hundreds of thousands of people were slaughtered during the night until it reached an end. So it's more an internal problem than a regional problem. The Middle East today is divided between 2 camps in the Arab world. One political, that comprises Egypt and Saudi Arabia and Jordan, and Abbas, the president of the Palestinians, and the other religious, that comprises Iran, Hezbollah, and Hamas. The religious trend is not looking for land nor for peace, but to look for domination in the name of religion.
But what has the combustion that is Iraq today, the explosive violence, the continuing and increasing violence in Iraq, what has that done to prospects for Middle East peace in terms of Israel and Palestine? It certainly has preoccupied the United States government, has it not?
Maybe, but not so much the Middle East. I mean, the split among the Palestinians resulted more from Iran than from Iraq. As today, Iran is trying to divide Iraq. The problem is again in the hands of the Iranians, not the Iranian people, the Iranian Ayatollahs, or a group of crazy, fanatic people. They won't win, by the way, because they don't have a solution. They are a protest. They don't know how to sustain their own people. They don't know how to promise the future generation. In the meantime, it causes trouble. You know, General, I'm asking myself, is the world in a mess? Are we going near? And my answer, no. The world is pregnant. Pregnant with a new age. Somebody said that the Stone Age is over, not because there are no more stones. There is no more age. The same will happen to them. We shall have to pass through a difficult period of time, we know it. Painful, costly, but we have a future, they do not.
Well, to continue with the pregnancy metaphor, this is either going to be a very difficult birth, or there's going to be the need for a cesarean section with regard to Iraq.
I think it will be natural birth in historic terms. It will be more than 9 months, what they mean. It takes time. But, you know, I'm looking at the Arabs or Israeli citizens. Israel today, 7 million people, 1.2 are Arabs. And they talk the same way, but it's not the same society. Among the 1,200,000...
What do you mean by that?
I'll tell you. Among the 1,200,000 Palestinian Arabs who are citizens, there are already 50,000 academicians. 19,000 Arab youngsters are attending university every day. Half of them are women. There is a quiet revolution, that's what I mean by pregnancy, taking place. It may happen soon, it may take a little bit longer, but they don't have a future. They cannot adopt themselves, or they have to a new age. Today the new age is global, humane, not national, not religious. You can be religious and you can be modern, like in Turkey.
So with the demographic that you've described,
yes,
the increasing numbers of younger people in the Middle East among Arab nations, could you draw the conclusion that given that demographic, given the way governments in the Middle East are now in Arab nations, that there could be more explosions within those cultures?
You know, the communists used to say religion is an opium for the masses. Clearly opium has a certain effect, but you cannot feed your children with opium. You have to provide them with food. You have to answer the real needs of the people. And Iran is not a problem for Israel, it's a problem first of all for Iran, then for the rest of the world. They are driving crazy. Iran is in a terrible shape, poor, corrupted, divided. The only strength that Iran possesses is the weakness of the international community, because there is no answer, so they make a mockery of it. The minute the nations will unite and have a clear line, we will not need a war even, because then Iran will return to a real size.
You sound like an optimist.
I am. I think you have to be an optimist and dissatisfied at the same time. An optimist because of the future and dissatisfied because of the present. You cannot be satisfied with things are happening. But when you look where does it go, and what are the options not only for us but for them, then you can become an optimist.
Are you optimistic that the United States will get back into the business, or more so in the business, of helping Israel sit down with your neighbors?
We don't have any disagreement with the United States. We are in full agreement. We accepted the so-called roadmap. We accepted the vision of President Bush. We accepted the vision of his the former President Clinton. We want peace. You know, it's funny. The dispute is of a minor nature. We gave back to the Palestinians all of the Gazian territory. We took out all of our soldiers. We dismantled by force all our settlement. We paid $2 billion compensation to them. We hand them over the full land. Where are they fighting? Where are they shooting? What did they want to achieve? When it comes to the other part, to the West Bank, we indicated that we're ready to give them back 90%, and about the rest have a swap. So what are they fighting for?
Well, now one of the obstacles, it seems, is a single POW, a single Israeli soldier being held by Hezbollah. That seems to be somewhat of an obstacle.
No.
No?
No. The problem, we are ready to release all the prisoners that we have promised, no problem. The problem is, to whom shall we release it? Who will get the credit? Mr. Abbas, who is for peace, or the Hamas, who is against peace? That's the problem. Because our Prime Minister promised already to Mr. Abu Mazen, or we call him Mr. Abbas, to release the prisoners. But they want to show that because they have captured a single soldier, we shall give it to them. That's the only thing, and we are not going to support the Hamas.
You mentioned working with several former presidents. A former president with whom you worked, Jimmy Carter, has a new book out.
Yes.
It's created some controversy.
I'm surprised by the book. You know, it's not like him. He knows the details. We are for apartheid. How? We gave back all the land to the Egyptians, to the Jordanians, to the people of Gaza. We are ready to give back the land to the Palestinians. We gave back all the land to Lebanon. I don't know on what he bases it.
What are you going to say to President Carter, former President Carter, when you see him?
In the most polite way that he is wrong, totally wrong. And I'm surprised by his position, because he knows the facts. And he knows that nothing when concerning peace depends upon us. Would it be upon us, we would have peace already a long time ago.
How could he be so wrong?
That's a good question, which I don't know really the answer. The problem for Israel is that we have to be as great as the danger we are facing, and we are ready to be as small as the size of our land.
Shimon Peres, thank you very much for joining us.